Alright, this is Knox. We're going to go part 2 for casual optimization, talking about an alchemy guide for transmutation mules. This guide is intended to help with the fallout from your first one, where you've used perception to gather a whole bunch of awakened essences, and your guild crafter needs a lot of frost and order. So, where are we getting stuff? You are the source. So we assume that you have another character or a friend that is supplying you a steady source of gathering materials, specifically awakened elements: frost, order, fire, earth, air. Those are the 5 we care about. Decay can get used for a couple of things, but we're going to kind of ignore it for the most part because it's not worth the transmutation cooldown as far as what you get out of it. So some things are used a lot more than others. Awakened order is used all over the place, and other than a single use of one of the transmute recipes just to get a knowledge point, I recommend that you never ever touch the order other than to put it in the vault. Let your guild crafter use it for making gems, let them use it for making mount appearances, all that kind of stuff. Use it yourself to make your own gems, obviously, as well, but main thing is don't touch it as far as the transmutation. It's just not worth it. It's too valuable to break into the other stuff. Awakened Frost, on the other hand, is used all over the place. Mostly in verse files. We make a billion of these things, and your guild is going to drink them like water, so you're going to need lots of frost. So what do we want to do with the earth, air, and fire? Well, generally you are going to need some from crafts here and there, but for the most part, you're going to get a lot more use out of the frost, so we want to transmute as many of those as possible into frost over time. But that's a limited resource because transmutation is on a cooldown, and even at maximum, you're only going to have 10 charges that you can get up to on a given character, and they come back in many, many hours per charge, somewhere between 8 and 16. I can't remember exactly at this point, but the point being, it takes many days to even fill up to 10 charges. You're not going to be able to just sit down and chunk a whole lot of these things. Moreover, when we get to the recipes, you'll see it's only transmuting a small amount at a time, so this really is something that you'll want to do with multiple characters across your guild, across your characters if you've got a lot of alts, all that kind of stuff. It can be very, very useful to do kind of en masse to funnel into making the files for your raid, for your Mythic Plus dungeons, all that kind of stuff. Okay, equipment is real easy. There's 3 pieces. You can make a mixing rod, you can make a hat, you can make a robe. The hat and the robe I'll cover first because there's no customization to be done, just get them made. Highest quality is obviously better because you get more out of it, but they're going to have multi-craft and resourcefulness and crafting speed, just baseline in smaller amounts. The bigger deal is the mixing rod because you can specify what you get, whether it's multi-craft or resourcefulness or inspiration, all that kind of thing. Multi-craft is what you want. It is the only major source of transmutation bonus procs, and that's how we get extra. This also helps and is the biggest thing for your file maker because that's how you get extra files. We can talk about that in another video because this one is all about transmutation, but bonus procs are massive. There's no multi-craft enchantment though, so what you're going to do is you're going to put resourcefulness on it. If you notice, I put a screenshot of mine in there. I only put the 2-star enchant, even though I've got a 5-star mixing rod. The difference between the 2-star and the 3-star is sub 1%. Is it better to have a 3-star enchant? Absolutely. If you're loaded with cash, get the 3-star enchant. But it is way cheaper if you're doing a casual optimization to simply get the best quality mixing rod you can get with a 2-star enchant, and that's the cheapest way to go. So we got multi-craft from our equipment, and we have some level of resourcefulness and crafting speed and so forth from the other pieces. All right, knowledge points. Where are you going to get all the knowledge points to go with the rest of this strategy? Well, you've seen it in other places, but the first time you do crafts, each recipe, you'll get 1 point. You're also going to get dragon shards from doing your dungeons and your raids here and there. Even some quests will give them to you, and you can turn those in for 1 point apiece. You're also going to get, after you get skill 50, so not 50 knowledge points, but 50 skill in alchemy, you'll start getting weekly quests. There's 2 of them. One of them will give you 3 points, the other will give you 3 points. One of them will be making something, so it'll be making some healing potions or some mana potions, or I think sometimes it's Writhe Fire Oil. It's usually something fairly easy to craft. You make a couple of them, you turn it in, you get 3 knowledge points. That's your weekly quest. There's also treasures you can unlock once a week as you fly around. There's those expedition backpacks, but there's also dirt piles. Those dirt piles require a shovel to even see. So you need your blacksmith friend to make a bunch of shovels. Always, 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 always have a shovel in your backpack. If it's in your backpack, you can see the dirt. If you can see the dirt, land and pick it up. There's going to be 2 or 3 alchemy treasures you can get each week, and they will be in sometimes different areas, but as soon as you get the file and the gooey stuff, sometimes you get them from fighting monsters as well. As soon as you get 2 or 3 points from your treasures, you can kind of check that box in your mind as, hey, you've gotten the thing for the week. Darkmoon Fair comes up once a month, but when it does, for that week, make sure you go get your free 2 or 3 knowledge points from that as well. Also, there's books. Rabul, they're in Valdrakken, is going to have 3 books that'll give you a couple points each. And then you can also get 2 books from factions. I've put a little grid up on the right side of the PowerPoint here so you can see that for Alchemy, the Maruk Centaur and the Valdrakken Accord are the 2 factions that will give you books for Alchemy specifically at certain rep levels. I believe there are 10 points worth of knowledge that you can gain in 2 separate books, and they are at different points along the track, but it's somewhere along the Reputation 14 and I think Reputation 24 roughly as far as when you get those books. You can also get some from Niffin, from Loam Niffin down in Zarelek Cavern, some from Harlow Marl, who is actually just the sort of reputation vendor. He's got a book for each profession that you can just buy with order resources. And then also from Ponzo, he's going to have 2 separate books that you can buy with barter boulders. And barter boulders you can only get to once you're, I believe, reputation either 12 or 14. So it does take a bit to get there, but once you do, there's another 10 points waiting for you to just simply buy, so you can bypass some of the weekly stuff. All right, so now that you've got some level of points, where are you going to spend it? So if we want to remember, this is for a character that is not making all the files and potions. There's a completely different strategy on how you want to unlock things if you're wanting to go into files, if you're wanting to go into potions. That's great. It's very useful to have a character that you have access to that can do that, but we're going to assume that this is an optimization guide for a character that is acting in a support role, that is taking materials and turning them into other materials that are more useful for a guild crafter. Okay. So, that being said, we're going to go to the alchemical theory. That's the one we're going to unlock first. We're going to put 5 points into that center node and then unlock transmutation. Unsurprisingly, we're going to go into transmutation, just max it out completely. Done. Okay, great. Well, that's only 25 points in, so what next? Go back to theory, put another 15 points in there so you can unlock a second subspecialization. We're going to go then and get resourceful routines. In that one, it's going to unlock a bunch more resourcefulness, and in fact, it will also make our resourcefulness do more for us, so we'll get to save more things when it procs. After that, you can max theory. There's a couple more little bonuses of plus 5% resourcefulness, or actually I think it might just be plus 5 resourcefulness, which is like 0.5%, but either way, there's some more little bonuses here and there along the theory, and then from there it's just kind of do whatever you want. Start going towards files, start going towards decayology, anything you want. But these are the only really important 70 points that you'll spend in getting transmutation to 20, theory to 20, and resourceful routines to 30. Okay, now, what recipes do you actually need? There's only 4. The 4 that you need are, first and foremost, transmute frost. That's going to take 1 air and 1 earth and turn it into 2 frost. Here's the problem. You learn it from the Cobalt Assembly, and you can only buy it on that character. You have to get to a fairly high rep level with them. So it's time to get farming. You got to go there, you got to kill mobs. By killing mobs, they're going to drop this mana, and that mana will automatically increase your reputation with the Cobalt Assembly. Once you get to certain levels, you can go check. There's an NPC out in the front. He'll tell you exactly how far you are, or you can just go to your, I think for my key bindings, it's U, and it will pull up your reputation tab. You can look at it and just find out where you are. I believe it's 4 out of 5 as far as how far you have to get before you can buy the Transmute Frost recipe. Once you do, you learn it, you're done. Okay, Transmute Earth and Air. We're going to need those as well, and I'll talk about why. But both of those are real easy. The Air is learned directly from a trainer as soon as you hit 15 in the profession. Earth is a world drop. Also, Transmute Fire is a world drop. They're fairly common, but even if you don't happen to find one, they're super cheap on the auction house. Just go pick it up, it's fine. And again, as with most other things, it's one of something else turns into 2 of the new thing that you're going to. You need all 4 of these recipes to balance materials at various times so that you can funnel fire into frost later. All right, so how are we going to do that? Your highest priority is obviously that we want to make as much frost as possible, right? So if you have the air and earth, just make frost directly. 1 air, 1 earth, it makes the frost. But what happens when you run out of air? You still got some earth. Well, now I've got to make some air. So we're going to use the transmute air to use our fire that we've got sitting around and some of the frost that we've already transmuted things into to go back into air so that we can then balance our equation and get back to making more frost. This seems a little weird, so let's go through a quick math example. Let's say we start off, we've got 2 frost and 2 fire. We can turn those with 2 transmute cooldowns into 2 earth and 2 air. We can then take those 2 earth and 2 air and run our frost transmute twice more and turn it back into 4 frost. That means from where we started with 2 frost and 2 fire, we now have 4 frost. Okay, well great. We have more frost than we started with, but it took 4 cooldowns just to get 2 frost net. But there's bonuses. If you get a resourceful proc, it means sometimes you don't use some of the resources when you transmute things. So it starts off costing an air and an earth to make frost, but maybe it only uses up 1 of the airs. Maybe it only uses 1 of the earth. If you're really lucky, it uses nothing and you just get free stuff. That's awesome. The other side of it is multi-craft. Sometimes instead of getting 2, you'll get 5. And now 1 plus 1 equals 5. Great, you just got more materials than you started with. This is useful all the way across the board. Even if you're using a frost plus a fire and you get 5 air out of it, well, that's 5 more air that you can use to make more frost later. So it's always still useful to get those multi-craft procs. It's always useful to get those resourcefulness procs. It just makes your materials stretch further and gives you more. But we're still mostly limited by the fact that we only have 10 cooldowns to use on each given character. So that's what we're going to be trying to optimize, is getting to the point where you can run through on a given character, have a small store of all 4 of the elements, and just be using those cooldowns to make as much frost as possible, and then you just funnel that to your guild crafter. Okay, that's all we've got. Hopefully that is useful for you guys, and we'll talk to you on the next one.